morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our 5-year consolidated plan, work on that, and input into it. I welcome everybody here. Very happy to see you. And thank you for being here to give us what we hope is very valuable input. So we're working on the 5-year plan that'll be in effect from 2025 through the end of 2029, so the next 5 years. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Deborah Smith to move forward. Deborah.
Hey. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. My name is Deborah Smith. I am the Director for the Department of Economic and Community Development. I'd like to introduce the DCED team. I have Dave Dieter, who is the Assistant Director, Veronica Fields, who is the Grant Administrator, and we have Deidre Tate, who is out in the audience to assist anybody. She is the Assistant Grant Administrator. We also have Renee Lamus, who is the Mayor's Chief of Staff. And we actually have our consultants, Mulligan and Lonigan. Bill Wasilewski is here, and he is actually the one who will facilitate this meeting. After he is done with the PowerPoint, I'll give instructions on the next steps as far as public comment or input for our 5-year consolidated plan. And I'll turn it over to Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah, and welcome everyone. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. So there's a sign-in sheet when you came in. Please make sure you sign that today. We have to document who attends the public meetings. There's also an agenda as well. And the agenda is important because there's links at the bottom of the survey related to a public needs survey, which can be accessed either via the QR code or the city's website. It's in both Spanish and English, and so we would really encourage you to spread the word about the survey. The purpose of today's meeting is really to get input on the city's needs for the next 5 years as it relates to its federal funds, CDBG, home, and ESG. And again, the majority of time today is really for comments, but we do have a brief PowerPoint just to kind of set the stage and provide some context as to what the kind of things we're looking for in terms of comments. So I'll go through the PowerPoint pretty quickly here, but then we'll open it up for general comments and go from there. So as we said, this is related to the city's HUD 5-year consolidated plan for 2025 to 2029, as well as its annual action plan for fiscal year 2025. And so what exactly is a consolidated plan? It's really a document that consists of 3 main pieces: the housing market analysis, the housing and homeless needs assessment, and a strategic plan. The housing and market needs assessment and the homeless needs assessment is really a census-driven document that we supplement with comments in settings like this. We're also having stakeholder sessions. This week we went all day yesterday, and we have more set for today. As well as the survey, as I mentioned earlier. The idea is to really get us understanding of what the needs are, how they're changing, any emerging needs along housing, community development, economic development in the city, and as we look forward, what those changing needs are, if there are any. Additionally, it's critical that we understand what these needs are because we have to work with the city to develop what we call a strategic plan for the next 5 years. And why is that important? Because the strategic plan lays out high priority needs in which the city will use its federal CDBG, home, and ESG funds to fund activities that really help address those needs. So we're really using all this information, data, stakeholder, public participation, survey information to help guide the development of that strategic plan. And then finally, we have the annual action plan for fiscal year 2025. The 2025 annual action plan will dictate how the city intends to spend its fiscal year 2025 allocation of CDBG, home, and ESG funds. I will caveat that by saying we do not have a federal fiscal budget for fiscal year 2025 yet. Congress passed right before Christmas a continuing resolution that basically extends funding for the government through March 20th of this year. So it's hopeful that the city will have its allocations from HUD sometime in April or May of this year. Why is that important? Because we cannot submit these documents to HUD for review and approval until there is a federal budget in place and until HUD provides actual allocations to the city under these federal programs. As I said, this covers 3 main programs, the first of which is the Community Development Block Grant Program. And it, as you can see on the screen, it funds it's the eligible activities it funds are there on the screen. They include such things as housing rehabilitation, public facilities improvements, which are streets and roads and sidewalks, blight removal, demolition of blighted buildings, code enforcement, economic development initiatives, acquisition of property. And I really want to call your attention to public services. The city is allowed to allocate up to 20.9% of its allocation each year to public services. Public services are critical funding that goes to neighborhood centers and nonprofit organizations to help address needs of the underserved within the community. And this is not an all-inclusive list. This is just a list to give you a sampling of what's eligible under CDBG, just to give a sense of what it is and what communities primarily use their CDBG funds for. Additionally, the city receives an allocation every year from HUD under the Home Investment Partnerships Program, or HOME. It includes, it's a sister program to CDBG, and it allows for basically the funding to go towards the development of affordable housing initiatives. And you can see the eligible activities on the screen. You can do such things as housing rehabilitation, homeownership assistance, the new construction of both for sale and rental affordable housing, and or tenant-based rental assistance. And then finally, the city receives an allocation of emergency solution grant funds each year. That is really to help address the needs of the homeless within the community. So it can go to such things as to help support shelter operations, homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, street outreach, and then finally HMIS. And HMIS is really the computer system that helps track the allocation of funds, the distribution of funds, as well as the number of people that are assisted with these funds. We always often get asked the question, what type of income do you need to be able to participate in these programs or receive funding as an agency or organization or be a beneficiary of these funds? So in fiscal year 2024, you can see on the screen the city's low to moderate income maximum limits up to 80% of AMI by household size. I will note that these change every year, and it's anticipated that the 2025 updated household size and maximum income limits will be released probably sometime in May or June of this year. We're going to get into the public comments here in a second, but there's several more slides just to kind of give you a sense of timing, and so we'll go back to this slide, and I'll turn it over to Deborah before we do that. But just to kind of set the stage, we're looking for public input as it relates to these programs, as it relates to affordable housing, homelessness, community development, economic development, and we really want information on such things on the screen as you see: housing affordability, accessibility, how that's changed over the last 5 years. Are there any emerging needs as you see in the community? The types of housing that's needed. Services for persons who are homeless to keep them housed and so they don't end up homeless again. What are those underserved populations? What are the gaps in serving those underserved populations? What are the city's public infrastructure needs in terms of street improvements, public sidewalks, storm sewers, water, anything related to that? And again, economic and workforce development needs. All this information that you provide in terms of what you do on a day-to-day basis really helps the city understand what's going on at the local level and in real time. We can look at census data, but really it's information that we receive from settings like this to help guide the decisions in terms of what those cities' strategic plan will be. And then finally, just wanted to have some comments on next steps in the process. So this is the first of 2 public meetings, and we thank you for coming and attending. We have another one scheduled for this evening at 6 p.m. right here in City Council chambers. You're more than welcome to come and provide additional input, but it'll be very similar to this session. We also have to we can receive public comments up until early April. The plan will then be required to go on what we call public display for 30 days between early April and early May. And we also have to have another public hearing to get comments on the draft plan during that time period. We will alert everyone via a notice as well as information provided to the stakeholders as to when those documents are on public display, and we would encourage comment by the general public as well as our stakeholders so that the city can receive any input and comments that they have on that. And then finally, the council will have to adopt this plan once HUD provides the city with its allocations. Again, we don't know when that will be. We're hoping it's in early June, but until there is an allocation amount by the federal government to the city, we will not be able to submit our plans new HUD consolidated plan or annual action plan until that time. And then just finally, one last plug, we have a survey available for the general public to provide comments as well. You can see the QR codes in English and Spanish on the screen. It's also, again, at the bottom of the agenda that you came in the door and received. So again, we would encourage you to spread the information about the survey and have your family, friends, and colleagues take that if at all possible. And with that said, then one last time. As Deborah said, if there's any information or questions or follow-up, you forget to say something here today and you want to call follow-up, we would direct your comments and questions to Deborah. Her phone number and email is there on the screen. And so without further ado, I'll leave that on the screen for folks to comment on if they need it for a second. But otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Deborah to kind of set the stage for the public comment.
Thank you, Bill. At this time, we are asking for your input, your comments, so that they can be a part of our 5-year consolidated plan. So we ask that anyone who wants to give public comment or input that you come to the podium, you state your name, your organization's name, and you're free to provide comment on what you believe the needs of the community are for the next 5 years. Nobody want to give public comment?
Don't everybody rush up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Hoffman. I am the Executive Director of Meals on Wheels Erie, where our mission is to allow folks to age at home with dignity by providing a compassionate check-in, a daily nutritious meal, and grocery delivery. Currently, we have more than 235 active clients on our list. We deliver an average of 200 meals every day. That's Monday through Friday. We do allow folks to get 7 meals a week or 14 should they choose the lunch option as well. And those meals are delivered on Friday afternoon to carry them through the weekend. We've seen a lot of growth, a lot more need coming to us. We're not the only meal delivery service in town. There are other options. However, my waiting list for veterans in need, those are veterans that can show a demonstrated need who are homebound through a disability or because they are elderly. Currently, I serve about 32 a day, and I have a waiting list that is hitting almost 60 people who are in need of food who can't get out and get it themselves. I also am partnered with the county for with the Human Services Development Fund for those that are under 60 and permanently disabled and unable to work outside of the home, unable to get out and get food for themselves. The majority of those people live right here in the downtown section of Erie, 16501. The Best area and the R West Bayfront area are the majority of those folks. With the funding that I have, I can serve about 32 of those folks. And that waiting list is close to 70 people who are waiting. And because when they come on there, they can stay on until they're 60. There's not a whole lot of movement on that waiting list every year. Unfortunately, if I could have a little more funding, I'm sure that I could cut into that waiting list. But it's not just about me. It's about a lot of people or a lot of organizations that are serving folks that are at home that we don't see, because these aren't homeless folks that are out and about in the neighborhoods. These are folks that are more often than not very elderly or unable to get out of their home. They're homebound for one reason or another. So they tend to fall through the cracks because we don't see them. And they need services. And blended case managers are calling quite often to ask if we, to get people on waiting lists, to see if we can help people. Meals on Wheels Erie doesn't, they don't have the capacity to do emergency food supplies. So I'm constantly recommending ways for people to get to the food kitchen or the food pantries and things like that. But we have to remember, again, these are folks that can't generally get out of their house. They are stuck there. They are starved not just for food, but for human companionship. So that's why we, every day, deliver to them. Sometimes that's the only reason that they're getting out of bed, because they know somebody's going to come and bring them something to eat. I just want you to consider that when you're looking at everything, the public services. Like I said, it's not just Meals on Wheels Erie. It's several different organizations that are providing services for people that we just don't see, that fall through the cracks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to provide comment?
Hello, my name is Mark Tannenbaum. I'm the Executive Director of PACA, the Performing Arts Collective Alliance. PACA is the proud owner of a 70,000 square foot piece of real estate at 150109 State Street. We have blueprints already signed by BIU. We've paid the fee for construction. We're shovel-ready to do 7 additional living spaces in our building. There are obviously some things that need to be done to make that a fruition, but we are ready to go. We've had this as a long-term plan for a dozen years. We are now in a position that we have completely remodeled our first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor. So our fifth floor now is our next phase, and we're looking for assistance to get this done. I mean, I've talked to several people about this. I can bring blueprints with me, but we are on our building is on the National Historic Register. We have connections with that available to us to make matching situations take place. We are one of the only 501c3s in the city that pays 100% of our real estate taxes. We could pay 0, and in fact, we pay not a pilot program. We pay 100%, whatever it is, we pay it, and that's school, city, county. And I think that we've done that since we bought the building 7 years ago. So I think it's about $8,000 a year times 7. So I think we've already invested into the very idea of sustainability within our community. PACA is a self-sustaining 501c3. We're one of the only ones in the country. And we would look forward to, Deborah, if we have an opportunity to have a meeting, we would look forward to laying out the blueprints that we have and show you the spaces that we can adjust depending on what the needs of the public are. But we're looking for live-work space within an artistic community. I already have 45, 48 tenants in the building currently. And, you know, those are all art studio spaces. None of them are living spaces. But our goal has always been to include living space into our building. And we're ready to go. And we have a longer plan to expand our footprint to include even more growth if possible. So reach out to me, or I'll reach out to you. I'll give you an email. And if we can give you a tour, I'd love to do so. And maybe we can move forward on a project, because we're, I guess the phrase is shovel ready. We're as close to shovel ready as we can be. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to mention, as far as we are actually in a process of taking applications which are due on Friday. And so I don't know if you put in for an application, but just kind of wanted to make you aware of that. And
Let me see what I could do. I can try to get something in by Friday, but it won't be
So
my
if you
best
wanna-
work by Friday. But I'll do
Just
the
wanted to
best.
make you aware of that.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Denise Manns from Mannis Enterprises, and I'm just asking for support to get our sidewalks fixed. I know that the deadline is Friday. However, we have been having a problem. Excuse me, I have a slight cold. We're having a problem with getting someone to give us an estimate on how much it would cost to get those sidewalks fixed. So I'm asking for your support and maybe understanding if we still out there trying to get someone to assess that property and the sidewalks.
Okay, we normally don't comment, but I just want to make everyone aware of that. This is also our application process period, which started back in December, and applications are actually due on Friday. So if anyone needs an application, if you have not filled out one, you probably need to get one from one of us before you leave the meeting. Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment on projects that they believe are important or any input that they'd like to provide for our 5-year consolidated plan? We ask that you come forward now. No? Okay. Did you have anything else
I
you
don't
want to
have
say?
anything. I'm good. Yeah.
Just like to make a point of clarification. Looking out here at the crowd, I see the faces. Most of you are familiar with our process, our funding year, but for those of you that are not, we're talking about 2025 funding. That is not on a calendar year basis. Our fiscal year begins July 1 of this year. So the funding applications we're talking about, those funds hopefully will be available July 1. As Bill had mentioned earlier, with the continuing resolution in place, the fact that there's a question about the federal budget not being in place as of yet, which should have been in place for several months ago. We're looking at possible delays in our entire process, mainly because we need the allocations up front before we can develop the plan. So I just wanted everyone to understand that this is not on a calendar year basis, it's a fiscal year basis, which typically begins July 1. Thank you.
Do you want to close it?
Well, hearing no other questions or comments, we really appreciate all of you being here, and we will, at this point, call this to a close today, but again, we are doing it again tonight at 6 p.m. Thanks very much for being here. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, everybody.